please pay attention to the cracks in your foundation. My last name is House, and we'll kind of build on that. So small cracks in the foundation can lead to really big problems over time, and it will cost you. First live event on LinkedIn. So I want to thank all of you for joining. We have some other people that are still trying to figure out how to get in LinkedIn, created multiple links. So anyway, I want to introduce myself. My name is Adam House, and I am currently the CEO of the House of Bricks. And I'd like to welcome you again to this live event. It's very short, but as for those of you that know me, I'd love to get straight to the point and provide as much value as possible. And that's what I hope to do here today. So I mentioned my name, Adam House, and to tell you a little bit about me, I want to give you some background. So I have been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I'm 45 years old, so I've been an entrepreneur longer than I have not. And so with that, obviously comes a lot of ups and downs and in-betweens. One of my favorite stories or parts of my career was when I was 32 years old. After I sold my mobile technology company, I actually became a professional basketball player. So I played in high school, a year of college, and then at 32, made a professional basketball team, then also became CEO and co-owner. Proud to say I've been married for 20 years and then the father of 4 amazing boys. So mention a little bit about my business history and background. I've, as I said, been an entrepreneur for 25 years. Started 5 companies in 5 different industries. So the first one was a direct marketing company, sold that back in 2007. Then I started a mobile technology company. That one was 18 months idea to exit, and we sold for 30 times revenue, if you can believe that, to Akamai Technologies in Boston. Then I played some professional basketball, started a healthcare analytics business, and have some big company experience as well, working at Rocket Mortgage. When I was in high school, I was an intern for Dan Gilbert, who is the founder of Rocket Mortgage and also owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and about 100 other companies. So it was really a crash course in being an entrepreneur, a crash course MBA, and that really helped shape my career. In addition to the business advisory services, just moving on to the next slide, I'm also the host of the House of Bricks podcast. So as you can see, we're actually in the studio right now. So I'm even learning the differences of how I talk. So, okay, am I on a Zoom call? Am I doing a podcast? So if I sound like a podcast host, that's because I am as well. Done 10 amazing episodes, actually 11 now. And if you can look at some of the people that I've had, we've featured best-in-class entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, professional athletes, NBA champions, NFL champions, doctors changing the landscape of healthcare. So I am going to ask you to take some action after this call. If you have not subscribed to my podcast, you can go on YouTube and do that. So it's really not about me and my story, but it's about empowering you to live your story and overcome adversity. Some of these athletes that we've had on, from going up homeless to winning an NBA championship, just incredible stories. And those stories will inspire you on your journey. So moving on to why we're here today, I've talked about my journey as an entrepreneur, and really what has led to my success is the culture and leadership and how I lead teams. And I've obviously evolved as a leader over time. So I was very successful at a young age. And with that success comes a lot of power. And the way that I led 20 years ago is definitely different than I lead now, but I was very good at, casting vision, creating inspiration, and getting people to buy in to, whatever crazy idea it was that I had at the time. And so I view leadership and culture as really the first pillar in building a strong foundation. So for those of you that have raised capital or been an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've heard the phrase to bet the jockey and not the horse. So when you're out raising capital or getting investors to invest in your business, they want to know your track record. And you've probably heard Steve Jobs say, like, everyone has good ideas. There's no shortage of good ideas, but it's all about the execution. And one of the ways that I was able to get buy-in was starting at the bottom. So when I started my first company, I was sales, I was marketing, I was accounting, cold calling every day. I did the work at a level that I expected other people to do the work. And as your business evolves, obviously you're not, doing all the sales, you're not doing all the finance, but I was able to get input really from my team from the bottom up. And that's what allowed us to really accomplish the impossible, exiting 3 of the 5 businesses that I've started for north of $10 million. You can't do that on your own. You've got to get the buy-in of the people that are with you. I talk about finding your why not. So there's, a lot of books out there like finding your why and your purpose and kind of this next generation of business people. But in reality, the way I've built my success is why not? Like, why not start a mobile technology company with no background in mobile? Why not start a healthcare analytics business without a background in healthcare? And if you have the right people around you, you build the right team, your why not can really drive a lot of success. Not saying you shouldn't have purpose in business, but at the end of the day, we all want to make money. We want to succeed. Money helps empower who you are. It magnifies who you are. We're all working. There's very rarely a time you can shut off in business. You're working this hard. Why not get rewarded for it with capital? And then obviously the impact is important. Part about leadership. So you're getting that buy-in. You have to have a vision of where you want to go. So as a leader, you get that buy-in from your team, but running 1,000,000 miles in the wrong direction just takes you 1,000,000 miles in the wrong direction. So you have to have a clear vision, get the buy-in from your team. And that's why the management team matters. And as I mentioned before, betting the jockey, not the horse, it's all about execution. And it's the ability to make decisions, read and react, and continue to make progress. So I want you to note, if you got pen and paper handy, it's not about making the right decision. Every decision will provide you feedback to make better decisions down the road, like us with our first LinkedIn event. So we're making decisions, we're getting feedback. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. The next part I want to talk to you about is the struggle zone. So if you look at the chart on the right, that red area is where you are going to spend most of your time. I have rephrased or renamed the struggle zone to the growth zone. So if you're into fitness or working out, you understand that you have to break down muscle to build muscle. And so as an entrepreneur, you just have to get that right mindset. 70% of the life cycle of your business, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you're trying to make progress in a big company, you're going to struggle. But in that struggle is where you're going to grow. It's where the most growth occurs. I can remember in multiple businesses having those sleepless nights, waking up in a pool of sweat, wondering if you're going to make payroll on Friday. And then boom, all of a sudden you make an innovative change in your business, forces your sales team to sell more, forces you to cut costs. But without that pressure, you would just continue business as usual. And oftentimes that leads to the death of the business. So embrace the struggle, be comfortable in the struggle. And I'm trying to even rephrase it for myself, view it as the growth zone. Moving on to your vision and foundation, I always like to start with the end in mind. So even with this new company of doing business advisory services, we have a 3-year target. We want to do north of 25 million in coaching services. So I will literally write that on the whiteboard, 25 million, and then figure out how I'm going to work backwards to get there. Without a clear destination, without the vision, people perish. And so you have to have that clear destination of where you want to get to. And the next step in that process is defining where you are. And it's really one of the most difficult things for you to do with your business. Is part of it is you don't want to really see where you are. But secondly, when you're in the weeds, it's very tough to work on the business and see and think objectively. I see it with a lot of entrepreneurs. You're just trying to make payroll by Friday. You're not thinking about your 6, 12, and 18-month plan. And so defining where you are, where you want to go, and then how are you going to get there. So one of the things that I talk to people about as well is the difference between the price and the cost. And so when people look at successful business people, or you spend time on social media, it's like, oh, look at this guy's jet, look at this guy's private. Yeah, well, yes, the price of those things are a couple $1 million here, or 10 million on a jet, but the cost is everything that it takes to get there. There's collateral damage to yourself, there's collateral damage to the people around you. So people look at the price of things, but they don't really understand the cost. And the point of all of that is defining where you want to go. You have to understand everything that it's going to take to get there. So as an entrepreneur, I've moved my family 22 times, if you can believe that. And my wife is still married to me after 20 years. But everyone around you as an entrepreneur is in the journey with you. There is no on-off switch. There is no 9 to 5. You're really just, going 24/7. And you have to just say, I'm up for this challenge, and make sure you're in the right season as a person, your right season as a family. And then that will help create the space for you to continue to achieve your goals. And so have a clear vision, have a strong foundation. Those are going to be one of the main cornerstones for your business growth. Let's talk about valuation, right? Because we're all in this, ultimately, again, to make an impact. But let's just be honest, we like to make money also. And so businesses are valued on many different factors. So it depends on the market cycle, where you are in the business. It depends on what type of industry you're in. So I mentioned I had a direct marketing company. That was really a services business. We were buying leads at one price and selling them for another price. It was a very cash flow positive business, and then was able to exit that based on a service type valuation. My next company, mobile technology, I was literally 18 months idea to exit. We sold for 30 times revenue. And to get into some of the key metrics that were involved, well, back in 2010, mobile technology was really ripe for disruption. There was a big total addressable market. So that's going to be your TAM. Revenue growth. Our first 15 clients were all Fortune 500 companies. Now we also did the USGA mobile scoring. So again, just a lot of market traction, big addressable market. We had strong hockey stick type growth. So they're looking at your revenue growth. I know earnings is important in most businesses, but not necessarily in technology. So again, it's very industry specific. Same thing with Qualmetrics, my healthcare analytics business. We weren't making money, but we had great revenue growth trajectory. The next thing you want to look at is what type of business model do you have? So you could have, one-time consulting service fees. You could have recurring revenue. Could be a subscription model. So again, these are all just different factors that can go into the business. So actionable things for you right now is, do you understand your total addressable market? So how many companies or prospects or clients are out there that meet your client profile? That's going to give you the total addressable market. What is your trajectory for your revenue growth? Then you have earnings. Unless you're funded by a VC, eventually you have to make money at some point, or you continue raising capital. But money does not solve business problems. I've seen this before. People get obsessed with the idea of, hey, I want to raise capital. How'd you do it? Well, what I did was I created an opportunity that people wanted to invest in and be a part of. So don't get lost in raising capital to solve your problems. Fix the business. Make sure you have the right foundation, what we're talking about today. Show the right growth, and the money will follow. Jumping on to the next section. So the guy actually driving the slides here today, Bill Joel. So I've worked with him since 2010. And the reason I'm bringing him up is, with my first business, we were super cash heavy, just very low cost, high margin business. I didn't really have to worry about the financial model. We had plenty of cash. We had a strategy. It was working. But it was when I moved into my next company, into the technology world, with Velocitude, I had never built a financial model. I'd been a CEO for 10 years. And yes, we do our bookkeeping and look at the numbers, but again, very cash heavy business. When we got into technology, we started building an engineering team, longer sales cycle. And I hired Bill. He has run both public and private companies, been a CEO, run $1 billion P&L at Nortel. He knows numbers inside and out. One of those guys that will create a spreadsheet 40 tabs deep, ask him to dumb it down for me. But the point in all that is the financial model is really going to serve as the GPS for your business, because the numbers do not lie. And what it enables you to do is understand your current cash requirements for the business. But more importantly, it enables you to make assumptions. Hey, what if we invested more capital now? What if we hired 5 salespeople instead of 3 salespeople? Putting those assumptions in the spreadsheet, this will help you create the vision, not just where you want to go on paper, but actually being able to back it up mathematically with the numbers. Because at the end of the day, no money, more problems. It keeps you from really making decisions that are right for the business. And you're making decisions based on, how am I going to make payroll Friday? We've all been there. It's not a great place to be. And fear often leads to very, very bad decision making for the short term, which is why most businesses fail. That's one of the main reasons, is not having enough cash, or not having the right strategy, or not being able to execute. Next slide I want to talk to you about is your competitive advantage. And hopefully everyone's following with me. I'm used to Zoom and seeing chats flying off. So if you like what we're talking about, I'd love to see you comment on LinkedIn and share this. Again, it's our first event, but we're going to make it work, and it's going to be awesome. And I appreciate everybody joining today. So talking about your competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is really what makes you different from your competition. It's pretty self-explanatory, but the way to think about it is, what problem am I solving in my industry that no one else is solving, or I'm solving it better than they are? And that is really feedback that you can get from the market. So a lot of businesses, when they launch, you're spending all this time creating a business plan, doing your own research. Where I have always got the best feedback is finding customers. Get a pilot customer, get a beta customer. We did it with Velocitude. And once that customer is using the product, then you can see, hey, what problems does this solve for you? What else could it solve? And having that dialogue, as your business evolves, you form a customer advisory board, but just having your ear to the market and being obsessed with the customers. Jeff Bezos says that customer obsession, that is really what's going to give you your competitive advantage. Why it matters, obviously, differentiates you from your competition, keeps them coming back for more. And the way to determine the strength of it is going to be looking at your churn rate. So if it's a one-time sale, how often are people coming back? In businesses like real estate, obviously people are buying houses every day, but are they referring you business? Are they buying investment properties from you? So that's how you are gauging the strength of it. And then maintaining it is just creating a culture of innovation and disruption, always looking for ways to make the customer experience better. All right. The next topic, I had to take a drink of water there, is your go-to-market strategy. So you've got your financial model, you know what the resource needs are, you know what the capital needs are, you've identified what your competitive advantage is and what problem you're solving for your client. And the next thing is, how do you get it to market? How are you going to win? How are you going to make sales? And we're not going to go too deep into this, number one, because of time, and two, there's just a lot of depth to your go-to-market strategy. But the first point I want to make to you, if you start a business or you're early on in your business, or really no matter where you are in your business, is you have to be able to say no to business. Because those clients, especially early on, we were developing mobile websites, but someone would say, oh, well, can you do my main website too? And because it generated cash for the business, but it was a huge distraction, opportunity cost from going out and selling more mobile websites. So understand who your ideal client is, what problem you're solving, and if they're not in those buckets, be okay with saying no. There's different ways you can sell. It's direct sales. You can have partnerships. But again, the go-to-market strategy, it's a very dynamic process. One thing I can tell you now that I'm doing social media, doing live events, everyone and their brother has a gimmick. You 10x your business, 5x your business, grow your audience on Instagram, grow your audience on LinkedIn and your following. There are no gimmicks. It is consistently doing the right things every day over time that will make a long impact. That's how I built my entire career. Nothing has changed. So stay focused, stay away from gimmicks. I just talked about it a little bit there, and we're wrapping up our time here quickly, but I want to address the compound effect of a neglected foundation. And the foundation we've talked about is having the right go-to-market strategy, having a financial model, understanding your competitive advantage, what are the barriers to entry. Please pay attention to the cracks in your foundation. I know my last name is House, and we'll kind of build on that. So small cracks in the foundation can lead to really big problems over time, and it will cost you, I'm not saying can, it will cost you millions of dollars on your next liquidity event. So if you're raising capital and you don't have a tight financial model, then I promise you they see one mistake and then it turns into, a forensic accounting practice. So you want to have clean financials, understand your competitive advantage, and paying attention to those things early on, saying no to business. That is what is going to give you a strong foundation. And I promise you save millions of dollars or a big chunk of your company if you're raising capital without addressing those problems early on. All right, so we've talked about the strong foundation, and the reason that we want a strong foundation is when it is time to hit that growth. So you remember the struggle zone in your business is about 70% of the time. That is when you're strengthening your foundation, but having that in place, that will give you that hockey stick growth and then position you for an exit. The strong foundation will help you accelerate your growth. It will help you execute at the high level. So knowing what your resource needs are, how many salespeople you need to hire, when do you hire them, having that financial model and making sure that you have the capital needs that you have to grow your business. It's going to empower you to really respond to the changes in the market and then ultimately improve your operational efficiency. Last slide, I'm watching the clock here too. So I appreciate a couple extra minutes if you haven't. If not, I understand. And I believe these events are recorded and you can watch the end. But this is really one of the most important points that I'm making today is understanding the inflection point of your business. So what is the inflection point? So if you look at that struggle zone, once you reach the end of that struggle zone or growth zone, your business has the option of going one or two ways. It's either going to go hockey stick growth or the other way, which is going to be out of business and continue to struggle. And the reason that inflection point happens, especially in technology, is there's that disruptor phase of when you start a business, you start disrupting, you start gaining clients. If you don't reinvest into the technology, reinvest into your business, over time, it's going to become a commodity. Just like with my company, Velocitude, every website is optimized for mobile today. So that's a commodity type product that if I didn't sell it or we didn't continue to reinvest, then there's no value to it. So that inflection point, you got to think about how am I going to prepare for it? It's constant awareness, making sure you have the cash to invest in technology. You have the cash to invest in your team. You can make assumptions using the financial model, planning for different scenarios, continuing to invest in innovation and creativity. That is how you're going to continue to prepare for that. The last slide, I just want to recap with you. Again, having a clear vision, starting with the end in mind, having a good management team. So I mentioned my skills as an entrepreneur. I mentioned Bill's skills as an operator, finance guy. We're a great inside out combination, finding people that are very good at the things you either don't like to do or don't know how to do. That creates a space for you as an entrepreneur. Having a financial model is the first step. Actually using your financial model is the second step. Being consistent, having regular finance meetings, and also doing some dreaming with it, creating assumptions that show the potential of the business. That is what is going to attract a potential investor or an acquirer. Knowing your competitive advantage, what makes you different, what problem are you solving that no one else is, which is probably unlikely. So you have to figure out how you're going to solve that problem better than your competition and continually getting feedback from your customers. That's how you have your competitive advantage. And then how do you get it to market? How do you win? Again, a lot of different strategies there. Social media, direct channel sales, nothing we can get really specific on, but again, understanding your go-to-market strategy. And then lastly, this is not a pitch for me, although it is what we do, is provide advisory services in all of these areas that we talked about. But whether it's from me or someone else, find someone that has gone to where you want to get to. It will, I promise, accelerate your time in that growth zone. There are patterns in business, recognizing patterns. That's how I've had success in multiple industries. I don't have a background in healthcare or technology or direct marketing or podcast hosting. There's patterns in business and they're recognizable. Find someone that's done what you want to do. Mentors, advisors, consultants, coaching is more on an individual skill basis, but leveraging those services, I attribute a lot of my success to the advice that I've gotten from other people. So life isn't about what you know, it's really about who you know, and getting connected in those circles will lead to your success. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Again, if you have not subscribed to my podcast, The House of Bricks, go on YouTube. I think it's on my LinkedIn profile as well. Please subscribe, like, and share how I can get this word out to other people. I wish I knew everything I know now. I'm not writing one of those letters to my 20-year-old self, but if I knew everything I knew now, I definitely could have had a lot more success and made a bigger impact on the people's lives I've been a leader of, and also in customers and industries. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Have an awesome day and stay tuned for more events from the House of Bricks.